Welcome, one and all, to this week's episode of Scotch and Smoke Rings. And I just realized that I forgot to do a thumbnail for this week's episode. So you're all seeing last week's episode's thumbnail. That's all right. I'll fix it later. Anyway, good to have you on the program today. We've got a great show for you today. We're going to be playing some more Wolfenstein, The Old Blood, and lots of other stuff. We'll be talking about the channel, talking about upcoming videos. I've got a few things to show you. It's going to be a grand old time. Now, I did try to experiment with something new last week, and it didn't go over very well. The consensus was pretty strong that you guys did not like the new overlays. So that's one of the things I wanted to do is, during the broadcast, there are so many people who are sponsoring or donating or giving me a tip or a super chat, and I can't possibly recognize them all. So I have these little overlays that we're going to fly over the screen to recognize somebody when they did something like that. But yeah, I got a lot of comments on last week's episode. Very distracting, Oxhorn. Don't like the new overlays. So, all right. Turn those off. There you go. No more overlays. Yeah, I know, the thumbnail. It's the same as last week. Can't believe I forgot that. I realized that I had forgotten to change the thumbnail right after I clicked the live button, and by then it was too late. Great show for you today. The first thing I want to talk about is, as many of you know, I recently moved into this new house. I was broadcasting in my garage up until recently. In my old house, I used my garage as my office. Anyway, so this is a new area. Crazy Polar says, when is the new LA Noire video coming out? Man, I did a new LA Noire video on Monday. I'll do another one. Don't worry. There's a lot. We've got a lot of time. Thank you for the tip, Rio Gobert. I do appreciate it. When are you ever going to play Skyrim, says Dediton. I played Skyrim on this channel. I did a full live stream of Skyrim. I played the entire game. But I probably won't be doing any lore videos of Skyrim anytime soon. Thank you very much, Trailer Park Boys. Anyway, so I knew where my cigar shop was, my local cigar shop at my last house. But now that I live in a new area, I never sat down and bothered to find where the local cigar shop was until today. And that's because I ran out of cigars. I usually get mine mailed to the house, and I purchased some. But because of the hurricanes, all of the shipping is delayed by a week for cigars, which is crazy. But and by the way, man, I hope all of you are okay tonight. I know the hurricanes are going crazy on the East Coast, but I'm glad that you're here, and I hope that you're all going to be all right. Dawson Holiday says, hey, Oxhorn, ever since you talked about how much you like Father Brown, I looked into it. Now it's my new favorite show. I'm already on season 2. Thank you for recommending it. You are welcome. I'm still going through it. I think I'm on season 5 by now. And it's so far, it's just as good as the earlier seasons, so I'm really enjoying it. Jacob Prower says, did you get my tweet that I sent you on Twitter? I get a lot of tweets on Twitter. I don't know which one was yours. Probably best, and thank you very much for the tip, but it's probably best to use the opportunity of giving me a tip to tell me what you wanted me to see instead of telling me if I saw what you wanted me to see. It's probably a better use of that time because this is highlighted in blue when I see it. But sorry, thank you very much for the tip, Jacob, but I don't know what you're talking about on Twitter. Anyway, so I got this. Well, first of all, there's a new issue of Cigar Aficionado. And Winston Churchill on the cover. I had to get it. I need to see this biopic. I haven't seen it yet. And then I got this. And I have smoked these before. These are pretty great. They're called the Chisel. I'm not going to be smoking them today because I have something new that I want to smoke today. But I have tried these before, and they're delicious if I can get the packaging open. But the interesting thing about them is the way that they're rolled. They're rolled in a very non-traditional way. It's becoming more common, but it's still pretty rare. Here. has a chisel tip. I don't know if you can see that, but it comes to a chisel. Oh, that's right. The autofocus isn't on. So anyway, it has a chiseled tip. But the nice thing about these chisel tipped is you don't have to cut them, because there's a way to squeeze the end of the cigar so that it snaps open and you don't have to bother cutting it. The Dark Seraph says, I got a glass of Southern Comfort and a Member's Mark bourbon-infused cigar. Cheers. A Member's Mark? Did you mean Maker's Mark? I know Maker's Mark will sometimes create cigars with the little red wax on them. Is that what you meant by Member's Mark? Well, congratulations. I hope you enjoy it. It's a fine night for smoking cigars. Big Boy says, thanks for the Fallout 1 series. I really enjoyed it. I had forgotten a lot about the game. Yeah, I had a blast. I hope many of you were able to join me for the Fallout 1 series. We finished it. It was half a month worth of Fallout 1 content. And we went through the entire thing from start to finish. Every location, every unique item, random encounters. It was a lot of fun. Now, I know many of you are wanting me to go right into Fallout 2. And that sounds great. I would love to be able to do that. But there's absolutely no way that I could do Fallout 2 and finish it before 76 drops. And that's because Fallout 2 is a much larger game than Fallout 1. There were only, 10 locations in Fallout 1? Something like that. There are a whole lot more in Fallout 2. It's just a bigger game. So there's no way I could do an entire series before 76. So I'm probably not going to be getting to Fallout 2 soon. It's going to be a while. There's a lot to get through. Instead, I'm going to be focusing on some of the other games that I've been doing. Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas, and some Fallout 4 content every now and then. So that's what I'm probably going to be focusing on instead of going straight into Fallout 2. Dalton Williams says, Ox, been watching your videos a long time. First donation. Just wanted to say I love your videos and your points of view. Well, thank you very much. And thank you very much for donating. I appreciate it. All right, so then this is what we're going to be getting through today. So I went to the cigar shop and I found that box of chisel tip cigars, and I had to get that. But then I wanted to just peruse their selection, and I picked out. I was like a kid in a candy shop. I picked out a number of really great cigars, and I don't know which one I'm going to smoke, but I discovered that I like these. I like this shape with the little pigtail there at the end, and then it comes to a tapered point there. I guess that's what I like, because that's what I ended up getting. A whole bunch in a variety of different sizes. That's a thicker one. That's a longer one. Oh. Here's a Henry Clay. This was ranked really well by Cigar Aficionado a couple of years ago. So we'll be enjoying that. Here's another. This is an aging room, an M19. Oh, did I get two of those? I did get two of those. All right, so let's smoke one of those today. Actually, since neither of them are in the cellophane, let's set both out. And then these two, what are these? These are aged 18 years. But yeah, another pigtail on there with a tapered point. All right. Dawson Holiday says, I see you also got the latest Loot Crate. Isn't it great? By the way, I also bought the Fallout Loot Crate subscription because you show off how awesome they are. Yeah, I'll be going over the contents of that in a minute. CS says, notice me, Oxy Senpai. You have been noticed. So, okay. Where's my card? My card. Oh, no. There we go. It's big and heavy. This fell in the middle of the night while I was working. Surprised it didn't wake the family up. So now that I've got this really cool pigtail, I'm about to cut it off, and I have to figure out the best way. If I do a guillotine, it's so thin it might unravel. one thing I really like about this is it's three things about the construction of this cigar that I love. First of all, it's got the pigtail. Second of all, it's got the tapered point, which is going to make lighting really easy, and it's going to give us a nice even burn. And it's box pressed. See how it's got a square shape instead of being round? All right, I think I'm going to use... Well, let's just see what happens. I'm going to use a V-cut on the box press, which is going to be weird. And we're good to go. No major unraveling yet. All right, now to light this sucker. Yes, I am using a butane torch, but this burns clean. It's not going to impart any sort of odd taste into the cigar. It's designed for cigars. So we'll just toast the end there. All right. You see that little, just a little bit of a golden glow at the end there. And then as we smoke it, it'll go through the entire thing. Okay, back to your questions. Wes Sleeps says, whereabouts do you live in the Commonwealth? If I lived in the Commonwealth, it would be Kingsport Lighthouse, I suppose. Jacob Prower says, Bethesda posted more information on Fallout 76 on my Facebook, so I Twitter to you 21 hours ago. My Twitter name is the same as my YouTube name, so if you want to look it up, just type my name. All right. So you're making me hunt for it? Okay. All right, I found a Jacob Prower. Jacob Prower. I can't find a Jacob Prower. Oh, wait. No, I can't. I think you're... I think your account is set to private. I'm sorry, but if your Twitter is at Jacob Prower, I think it's set to private because I'm seeing other tweets where they mention you and it's not hot linked, which means I can't visit your profile. I think that's it. I could be completely wrong. Anyway, I'm not going to be looking. I'm not going to look this up anymore. Let's see. Fallout 76 news. Let's see if I can find the actual news release. Okay. Fallout 76 will have cosmetic microtransactions, reports VGR, free DLC, and no loot boxes. Hey, this is all stuff we knew already, and as far as I'm concerned, it's great. I'm cool with cosmetic microtransactions. I don't care. That's fine. You want to make fuzzy bunny-themed power armor? Well, okay, I would have a problem with that. Never. Okay, within reason. We can have cosmetic microtransactions within reason. Enclave-themed power armor, sure. As long as it doesn't get crazy like Fortnite, we'll be okay. But yeah, no loot boxes and free DLC. That sounds great to me. Is that the news that you were talking about? Okay, back to the comments. Corey Wilson says, is Harold in Fallout 1 and Harold in Fallout 3 the same person? If so, how did that happen? Yes, they are the same people, the same person. It's one of those things where Harold crossed the continent to come to the West Coast. How did that happen? Well, we'll just have to go to the Oasis and have a chat with Harold and Bob in an upcoming video. Dank Mario says, any new plans now that the Fallout series is done? Yeah, same as everything else I've been doing. I did a video on Hubris Comics today, which was a whole lot of fun. We got to play a text-based RPG called The Reign of Grellock on the computers of Hubris Comics, which was a whole lot of fun. Yeah, that's the kind of stuff I really love, and that's where Fallout 3 just excels. You know, I love Fallout 4. It's what really got me into doing my channel. And you know I love Fallout New Vegas. I sit here and produce all of these lore series on Fallout New Vegas. But, man, Fallout 3, there's nothing captures the feeling of being completely lost in a wasteland and exploring a new, undiscovered ruin like Fallout 3. I find myself just enjoying exploration so much in Fallout 3. They did dungeon and environmental design really well. Thanks for everything you do, says Adrian Parker. You are amazing. Stay spectacular. Well, I do try to stay spectacular. Did I snap my suspenders today? There, let's... Gotta stay spectacular here. The Dark Seraph says, you were right. It's a maker's mark, and it's smooth as butter. Now, put this towards a fancy liquor decanter for your office. Hey, that's a good idea. I don't have one of those, do I? One of these days, my office will get done. And I know I say that every week, but every week I say it, I'm 1 week closer to getting done. Just think about it that way. I will eventually have an appropriate set for the show. Marinka Green says, what's Forrest Gump's password? 1 Forrest 1. It's not funny. I shouldn't be laughing as much as I am. That's great. Okay. Today, we're smoking. Oh, we're drinking. Some Glen Moraine 12-year-old single malt Scotch whiskey. Oh, hold on. It's about half empty, so it doesn't have a resounding like we would typically want. But maybe you can hear me pour it. There we are. This was aged in port casks. And so it has a sort of rosy hue, I guess is how you can describe it. Cheers. Check it out. And the ash hasn't even fallen yet. The original Courier 6 Ulysses gives a tip with no comment. Just a nice tip. Thank you very much, Ulysses. Okay, I got to do something about the chat. It's often to the right, which is where my microphone is, and so I keep having to look over there. Let's move that here. Rusky says, do you think Fallout 76 will have any serious lore involved or reveal anything significant? Yeah, I believe one of the things that that Todd Howard said during the big E3 reveal is that West Virginia is where the real nuclear secrets were kept pre-war. So they definitely took time, based on everything we've heard, to create a story and to bury secrets. So there will be terminals, there will be scraps of paper, there will be notes and bodies and, you know, stories that we can interpret based on environmental storytelling. There will be all of that that we're used to as part of the game. Plus, of course, the multiplayer side of things. Samuel Keys says, are you a Speyside or an Islay fan? I'm an everything fan. If it's Scotch, I like it. I think if I had to choose, I'd say Islay. Crazy Fracture Gaming says, thank you for today's video. I did not know that location existed, and I am looking forward to your Fallout 2 Let's Play. Well, thanks. It's kind of a Let's Play, isn't it? I do kind of go through the entire thing, but it's much harder to put together than a Let's Play, because with a Let's Play, I just sit there and broadcast me playing through it. But with my lore videos, I pull out the fascinating details and I try and make it more narration driven. But yeah, again, Fallout 2 will come, but not for a while. Lots of other stuff to get through first. The Ultimate Sword says, do you think we'll encounter the mysterious stranger in Fallout 76? Probably not, if I had to hazard a guess. First of all, there's the whole time thing. I mean, this game takes place 25 years after the bombs dropped. So if the mysterious stranger was indeed a real human being, this would be, you know, far beyond before the very first moment we saw him in Fallout 3, I believe. Making him really, really old. Impossibly old, so he would have to be a ghoul or something. But then there's the simple game mechanic issue, which is that if you've got a dozen or 24 people on the same server and they all have Mysterious Stranger as a perk, and then they get in a fight, and then the Mysterious Stranger is appearing in multiple places at once, yeah, I don't think that would work very well. Aiden Derek Foderman says, how did Sierra Petrovita get to Nuka Town, USA? Well, I presume in the same way that McCready got to the Commonwealth. And Madison Lee got to the Commonwealth. I think they just walked. Corey Wilson says, what? I have to wait? Yes, I haven't shot any footage for Fallout 2 yet. It's going to be some time. Nate Campbell says, are you going to live stream Fallout 76 when you first play it so we can see your reaction? Absolutely. That's the intention. I plan to put my lore content to the side for a while, at least a week, maybe 2 weeks or so, while we do daily live streams of Fallout 76. So yeah, when it drops, that's what we'll be doing here on the channel. 80CJ5 says, hey Oxhorn, I was looking at that Deacon comment. I grew up around here. If you play as Curie, she has a comet trigger point at the same tour spot that he says. She says, can we take the tour, please? Yeah, I know. That's one of the things I mentioned last week when I talked about it. She's the only other companion that has a dialogue trigger at that exact same spot. But, you know, for the life of me, I mean, I spent days looking for that one trigger event, and I can only conclude that it was cut from the game, probably specifically because it was so salacious. But then again, it doesn't need to have been because he was a liar, so I don't know, it must have been cut. I couldn't find it. Wes Sleep says, as a bartender, I approve of your choice in liquor. Well, thank you. Jessica Sharp says, my 6th year anniversary is tomorrow. Thank you for the hard work on the Fallout 1 series. Cannot wait for Fallout 2 series. Well, that's great, Jessica, but your 6-year anniversary for what? Wedding anniversary? 6-year anniversary since you subscribed to my channel? 6 years since you started playing Fallout? I'm assuming it's like a wedding anniversary. Well, congratulations to you. Thank you for the tip, TurtleMan1990. Shale says, I'm not sure if you have a PS4. If you don't, too bad. We'll love to see you play Detroit Become Human a lot. Of endings depend on the choice you make. Yeah, I sadly do not have a PS4. And this is what makes it frustrating about games that are platform limited. Spoopy says, yeah, Oxhorn, there's a Mysterious Stranger perk card already confirmed in 76. Is that right? Well, I'm wrong then. That's that sounds interesting. Well, I can't wait to see how that's going to work out. I imagine a dozen or so people all triggering the Mysterious Stranger at the same time. That would... All right, well, that'll be on YouTube. Luke Duke says, do you think we will see aliens in 76? Probably not the living kind. Maybe the living kind, I don't know. But I do think we'll probably see some reference to aliens since their technology is wrapped up in pre-war America's technology. So maybe corpses in a bunker underground, or a reference to finding alien technology that was their inspiration for plasma weaponry or something like that, yeah. Hi from Mexico, says Abyss Dude. Hi there, Abyss Dude. Pleasure to have you on the program. The original Courier 6 Ulysses says, Oxhorn, what's your take, or what are your thoughts on Ulysses Odysseus? The New Vegas character, not the Roman-based myth. So, we learned from Lonesome Road that Ulysses was not named after Odysseus from myth, Greek myth, but was in fact named after Ulysses, the American general during the Civil War. Now, of course, that Ulysses was named after the Odysseus of Greek myth. But but the reason that they made that distinction is because General Lee was a man of war. So they, and I covered this in my video on Odysseus. What Ulysses tried to say is that the original Ulysses S. Grant, he was a general of the Civil War. He became an American hero. He became an American president. But then after his presidency, his life fell apart. There was a lot of sickness in his family. He lost a lot of his money. He went on a big, European tour, and that cost a lot of money. And when he got back home, he was pretty much impoverished. And then he died of cancer. And in order to save his family after his death, he spent the last few moments of his life furiously writing his memoir. And none of that is said in Lonesome Road, but that history is alluded to when Ulysses talks about how when the war was taken away from Ulysses S. Grant, he became less of a man than he was. At least that's what Ulysses in Fallout New Vegas was trying to say. He was trying to say that some great men are made for great times, but in less great times, they cease to become great men. It's the hard times that makes a man great or challenges him to become a great man. And he was alluding to himself a little bit based on the decisions. He trying to justify the decisions that he was about to make, whether he was going to blow up both the NCR and the Legion. He saw those wars as being necessary in order to make a nation great, in the same way that a civil war was necessary to make Ulysses great. Anyway, I did an entire video expressing my thoughts on Ulysses as a character at the end of my Lonesome Road DLC series. So if interested, just Google Oxhorn Ulysses, and you should find it. Fallout 5, The Invasion of the Zetans, says Jason Fisher. Well, I wouldn't want an entire Fallout game just about the alien invasion, but having a little bit of aliens is always cool. Zachary says, Ox, I had Deacon say I used to do the tour here, but it was in the Glowing Sea. So I don't know, but try somewhere in the Glowing Sea. What? I'm not about to start stomping all over the Glowing Sea trying to trigger that one dialogue from him. But racking my brain, where in the Glowing Sea would he say that? Because there's nothing in the Glowing Sea. It's just radiated as far as the eye can see. Where would there be a tour? Where would there be a museum in the Glowing Sea? Those are the two things. Where would there be a museum dedicated to servicemen or Memorial Day or veterans. And where would they have a tour? In the glowing sea. It's going to bother me now. I'm going to have to look it up. Don Williams says, Ox, what's the difference between Scotch and whiskey when it comes to sipping on? Because the price is so different. The difference is that Scotch is whiskey that's made in Scotland. And it's also made in a distinct way. So they make Scotch by taking old bourbon barrels from Kentucky. So Kentucky will make bourbon. And then when they're done with their barrels, they'll sell the barrels to Scotland. And then the Scotch makers of Scotland will then allow their Scotch to soak in these big bourbon casks for years, over a decade, before selling it. It's just a unique way of making a Scottish type of whiskey. So that's really the only difference. And the taste is strong. A Scotch is really strong and unique. So you just got to taste the two to see the difference between the two. RT Firefly says, why is your voice so enjoyable? I don't know. You got me on that one. Jessica Sharp says, 6th year wedding anniversary. Sorry. Oh, so it was the wedding anniversary. Well, congratulations. 6 years is one major milestone. David Clifford says, love ya, Ox. My favorite thing to play at work. While I'm happy to help make the hours go by. Superbad says, Oxhorn, how would Fallout 5 start if you wrote the story and if your character was a super mutant? Love everything you do. Thank you, good sir. Whoa. I think you've already got a bit of a story there. Well, the video I did on Fallout 5 as an April Fool's joke was that it took place on Roanoke Island in the 1700s. Time travel in the Fallout universe. It's the only territory yet to explore. I don't know. I'm not going to invent a plot on the fly involving a super mutant right now. Though it would be fun to play as a super mutant, or a ghoul for that matter. It'll be interesting to see whether or not they choose to include that in the future for Fallout 76. After all, who's to say that after we leave Vault 76, someone doesn't wander into a bunker and fall into a big FEV tank? Or somebody doesn't get irradiated? It's possible. Brian Isaacs with a tip. Thank you, good sir. Paul Blart says, hey, Oxhorn, what new enemy do you want to see in Fallout 76? Well, I'm going to leave that to the imagination of Bethesda. They've already shared with us dozens of different new enemies that we'll encounter in West Virginia, many of which are based on West Virginian folklore, which I think is a great way to go about doing that. I also like the idea that we're going to be fighting ghouls that are halfway between becoming feral ghouls. They're no longer sane, but they're still sane enough to be able to say certain things and use weapons like raiders do. And I think that's a cool approach to it. So yeah, lots to look forward to. Blake says, hey man, been a long time fan, but haven't hopped on many streams. Thanks for all the amazing content and the Creation Club reviews. You are indeed welcome. I always enjoy going through the Creation Club stuff. I love seeing new things for Fallout 4. Anthony says, what did you do before this? First time donating. Love you, Ox. Well, thank you, Anthony. Before this, I was in marketing. I was the VP of marketing for a hospitality technology company. And it was fun. I mean, I enjoyed that job. But I'm having a lot of fun here as well. David DeWitt says, Cyberpunk 2077 looks awesome. Indeed, it does. I'm pretty stoked. Hey, new subscriber, new member here on YouTube. Edvin. Thank you, Edvin, for becoming a member. Dawson Holiday says, Oxhorn, remember that giant spinning thing in the Fallout 76 trailer? I believe it is the fallen wreckage of the space station from Van Buren. I do recall seeing a fallen space station, but then I think the spinning thing may have been some mining equipment, because I believe I remember seeing some buckets on the end of it and some chiseled heads for digging into the earth. But then there was that ruined spaceship. There were two things. There was that big spinning wheel. I think that was the mining equipment. And then there was the wreckage of the large spherical-looking base sort of thing. And yeah, I think that was a space station. Jason says, I was joking about the Zetans, but you have to admit it would be an interesting twist to the story, possibly even forcing the Brotherhood to change from their original rules and joining of other big factions. Thoughts? We've already got Mothership Zeta, so if we really want to play with a lot of aliens, we can always play Mothership Zeta. I don't think I would want to see a Fallout 5 focused exclusively on, aliens, like this big Zetan alien invasion as a major plot of the game. I like the aliens as side things, as either Easter eggs or small pieces of content in the world. If you want to see the Brotherhood of Steel change their rules to adapt to where they find themselves, play Fallout Tactics. They make a lot of exceptions to their rules in that game. Mike Whitmoyer says, hello, Oxhorn. Loved your Fallout 1 content. Keep it up. Will do. And thank you very much. Striped Llama 607 says, how do you think the workshops worked pre-war? There's the one in the house in Sanctuary that's not there at the beginning of the game. Did they appear after the bombs dropped or something else? Keep up the amazing work. Well, that's a great question, and I hadn't thought about that before you mentioned it. You're right. Before the war, in our brief tour of Sanctuary before the war, we don't see a workshop in the house across the street, do we? So, I guess if we have to explain it, from a lore perspective, it must have appeared sometime after the war. But then again, we have to, bear in mind the game mechanics. They had to have some sort of device there to act as a central node for that particular workshop. And they wanted to make sure that that was identifiable and it looked the same for between all of the settlements, so that we could recognize an area as a settlement when we found one. So from a game mechanics perspective, it's understandable why they all look the same, why they look exactly what they do. If we have to explain it as lore, we can't really explain the Sanctuary one, because it doesn't make any sense that after the war, someone is going to haul a workbench all the way to Sanctuary. I suppose it's possible, but if nuclear cars don't work after the war, how do they haul something that large? Seems strange to me. Brian Isaac says, L.A. Noire reminds me of the Dragonet TV show from the 1960s. Though, no, the Dragonet was certainly an inspiration for L.A. Noire. I remember watching Dragnet a lot when I was a kid. Great show. RT Firefly says, what would you do if they added Slender Man to 76? I'd be disappointed. I don't like the idea of creepypastas coming into my Fallout lore. I love getting my hands on cigars right out of a humidor. They've been cared for. I went into a nice, wonderful walk-in humidor. They had a humidifier going. It was at the right temperature. These have been cared for. I don't always care for cigars well, if I'm perfectly honest. I don't have a good humidor for it. But you can definitely taste the difference. Welcome new member, Artisan09. B. Cherry and Jones Drinker says, hey, Oxhorn, if you have your own faction to rebuild civilization in the Fallout universe, which faction would you choose to become your ally and your enemy? So are you asking me to choose between the Fallout factions, or are you asking me to invent a faction? I think you're asking me to choose between the Fallout factions. So if I had to choose a Fallout faction to rebuild society, it would be the Minutemen. I think, well, on the East Coast, it would be the Minutemen. On the West Coast, it would be the NCR. And then to choose one to be the enemy. That's tough because every faction on the West Coast or on the East Coast has the potential to be redeemable. On the West Coast, Caesar's Legion, definitely. They're irredeemable. I don't think there's anything redeemable about that culture. It's a doomed culture. But on the East Coast, the Institute, even Maxon's Brotherhood of Steel, the Railroad, they're all redeemable. You could change the way those factions function as organizations to such an extent that they would become very useful allies. And I'd hate to just choose one of them to become an enemy without exhausting all diplomatic avenues first. I guess if I had to choose one that I thought would be the least likely to be diplomatic, I think the Brotherhood of Steel is probably the least likely to be diplomatic. They're fairly dogmatic. So they would inevitably, I think, be the conflict. Werner says, update the title. Yeah, no, I forgot to do a thumbnail. I'll fix it after the show. Ah, man, I get to talking, and then my cigar goes out. Son Matthew says, hey, Ox, so I make this a little longer. So what if Fallout protagonist had ki or chakras, since it makes you invulnerable to rads, and I suppose since it's spiritual energy and makes you stronger? Yeah, I believe that's a reference to Fallout 2, where we did indeed find a quasi-religious order that had this ki that made them immune to radiation, which is a weird thing to include in a Fallout game, I think. But that's established lore. It's canonical, so we have to account for that. I don't know. I mean, I think there's a reason it wasn't included in Fallout 3 or New Vegas or Fallout 4. And that's because the idea of, you know, focusing some sort of internal energy into a radiation barrier is really outlandish. It is the Fallout universe, and there are outlandish things here. So, within the realm of possibility, I don't know. Lee McKinney says, don't catch your beard on fire. Don't worry, because I don't want to set my beard on fire. Dawson Holiday says, Oxhorn, see, do you think it's the same one from Van Buren? The Bomb 001, or at least inspired by it? I don't know, but I hope so. Because one of the greatest tragedies is that Van Buren was never made. The more I learn about Van Buren, the more awesome it was. When I was doing my video on Fallout 1, my series on Fallout 1, and I got to read up on Harold, and I learned his history and how he came from Vault 20, or was it 18? Richard Gray came from Vault 8. Harold came from Vault 21, was it? I forget which one it was. Anyway, when I read up on that particular vault and how there was this goddess Diana, and you know, she was a computer AI and helped create the twisted, or I almost said Twisted Sister. No, the Twin Mothers. Helped create the Twin Mothers. Man, I wanted to see that story told. But sadly, you know, Interplay and Black Isle, they just dropped the bomb, or the ball on that, and gaming politics and all of that horrible thing. So yeah, it never got made, but the lore that they released of Van Buren was so well written and thought out that I really regret that that was never turned into a game. So when I found, when I saw that Obsidian had resurrected a lot of the lore that had already been created for Van Buren to put in New Vegas, I was thrilled. We get to meet the Van Graffs, or at least relatives of the Van Graffs, for example. And so, yeah, I would love it if Bethesda borrowed from Van Buren a little bit here and there, just at least so that we could say that some of it is canonical. I mean, if we can at least walk away knowing that Van Buren more or less is canonical, then that helps us better understand the world, which is great. Now, I mean, Bethesda has no lack of their own creativity, as both Fallout 3 and Fallout 4 has told us, and I want them to tell their own stories too. So I don't want them to recreate Van Buren. I want them to make their own game. But to mention Van Buren or to have cameos from Van Buren, I think would be great. Wow, I missed a whole lot of comments during that diatribe. Ad Jimmicky12345 says, thank you for the videos, man. Really appreciate you. Well, thank you for the tip. B. Jerry and Jones Drinker says, your own faction. I mean, if I had to make a faction, I would recreate the Commonwealth Provisional Government. I would organize all of the local settlements, including Diamond City, and try and restart society that way with a military that supports organized settlements rather than a military that's trying to create organized settlements. That's how I'd probably go about that. Are you interested about the release of Red Dead Redemption 2? Not necessarily for making videos about the game, but for your personal entertainment. Yeah, I would love the time to be able to sit down and play Red Dead Redemption 2, but I probably won't, just because I need to spend all my time producing content for the channel. That said, the game looks great, and I'd love to be able to play it. Grievous Reborn says, did you know that Footprint in Fallout 1 is remnants of cut content of time-traveling dinosaurs, or at least that's what the wiki says, so maybe not to be true. Yeah, I doubt that's true. If the developers of Fallout 1 cut the Slantir from the Glow, which are a race of talking raccoons that became intelligent after being dipped in FEV, if they cut those guys because they thought that was not suitable for the Fallout universe, then time-traveling dinosaurs, that's probably not something they would want to include. I doubt that that's true if the wiki does indeed say it. I think it's just an Easter egg. Probably a Godzilla reference. Nocturne Chanson with a tip. Thank you. I don't understand your comment, though. The scorched sound, like the Bear Brothers in the Pit DLC. I know the Bear Brothers in the Pit DLC, but I don't know the scorched sound that you're referring to. Matt Buster says, I watch every show. Your channel is so important to me. I love your dedication and passion to the same game as me. I fell in love with Fallout 3 soon after I started it. Laura says, Twisted Sister, we're not going to take it. I know. I'm glad I'm not the only one old enough to understand that flub that I did. Thank you, Matt. I do appreciate it. Yeah, Fallout 3, I'm the same way. Fallout 3 was my first Fallout back in 2008. That's the first Fallout I started playing. It's how I really fell in love with the entire world. And then I stayed away for a while until Fallout 4 came out. And it was after Fallout 4 came out that I finally played New Vegas and became captured by the world all over again. Jason says, hey, Oxhorn, how far east did the Legion get? And do you think there will ever be a Fallout game where East and West factions like NCR and Minutemen meet? So for the latter, I doubt that. I think that it's probably a good thing for Bethesda to keep both of those worlds separate for the time being. And then in terms of how far east did the Legion get, I think they got pretty far east. I mean, they had conquered 3 states, I believe. Colorado, Arizona, New Mexico. I mean, they do have an empire. By the events of Fallout New Vegas, they really did have a bit of an empire. But they did so really just by conquering petty tribes. Not by creating... Well, I mean, the streets of New Reno are safer. Oh, no, it was Denver. Not New Reno, Denver. Katie says, hey, Oxhorn, excited for the stream. I really like existing during pre-war at the beginning of Fallout 4 and the VR quest with the small neighborhood in 3. Would you like to explore the Commonwealth pre-war? Yeah, I really enjoyed the snippet of pre-war America that we got at the beginning of Fallout 4. That was a wonderful little touch. You know, the TV going, seeing how a small nuclear family functioned in pre-war America. Very 1950s, even in 2077. Yeah, that was a great touch. I don't know if I want to explore more of the world pre-war. Seeing snippets of it now and then is interesting, but I think one of the great lures of the Fallout franchise is exploring how that pre-war America helped lead to the destruction that we find post-apocalypse. So I like exploring that world in terminal entries and notes and stories from people who have long since passed, rather than walking around that actual pre-war world. Monotone Gaming says, howdy Oxhorn, have you ever considered smoking pipe tobacco? Yeah, I started with pipe tobacco, and I used to smoke tobacco pipes on this program, actually. But I settled on the cigar just because it's easier. Smoking pipes is a lot of work. I prefer this. All right. I talked about the loot box. So I figured I'd show it off a little bit. So this is the latest loot box. Comes with Codsworth. Don't know if you can see, but it's a little tiny model of Codsworth. This is just a poster of some T-45 power armor. Here's another piece to that chibi-looking Build-A-Figure set power armor. I believe it's the helmet. There's this. I don't know what this is. A name tag? A Pip-Boy themed name tag for luggage, like a luggage tag. Interesting that it's a Fallout 3 New Vegas type Pip-Boy. Then there's this pin. Nerd Rage, I believe. Yeah. Nerd Rage pin. And then this. Inexplicably. It's a towel. Rockabot takes the nation by storm. So we've got this Protectron singing rocks, 10 #1 hits. I mean, it's too small to be a beach towel. Too small to be like a bath towel. Is it a dish towel? I don't know. Overall, you know, the loot boxes have been okay. I've gotten a few things that I really like. But if I were to make the choice all over again, I probably wouldn't buy it. A lot of the things that we've gotten so far are things that I would never buy on my own. Like this Build-A-Figure that has been going on and on and on for almost a year now. The end result, I mean, even once we get all the pieces, the end result is not something I would ever buy because it doesn't look like a suit of power armor. It looks like a squashed, you know, cute suit of power armor. Which is that? Maybe I'm alone in that, but it doesn't excite me. I really liked the mini nuke USB hub that we got. That was pretty cool. And there have been a few shirts that I really enjoyed. The Gwyneth shirt was cool. I liked that. Genesis Moore says, hey, Oxhorn, struggling college student, so I can't donate much, but I just wanted to know who is your favorite sidekick and why. I also love you lots. Thank you, Genesis. I appreciate the tip. If you're a struggling anything, let alone college student, I don't need your money. You don't have to give it to me. I appreciate it, though. My favorite sidekick depends on the character. I really love all of the companions in Fallout 4. Bethesda and Obsidian did companions so right in Fallout 4 and New Vegas. In Fallout 3, sadly, many of the companions are really kind of one-dimensional, but not as one-dimensional as the companions from Fallout 1. I mean, the companions from Fallout 1, you can tell their entire story in a paragraph, and they look exactly the same as Raiders. But yeah, as the Fallout games developed, companions became better and better and better. And, I love all of the companions. In Fallout New Vegas, it's hard for me to choose a companion. I typically run with Cass, just because I love the Whiskey Rose perk. And so she and I will constantly drink whiskey. And then in Fallout 4, gosh, they're all so good, it's hard for me to pick one. I run with Kate on my Brotherhood of Steel character, Deacon on my Railroad character, Preston on my Minuteman General character, and X6 on my Institute character. It's hard smoking a cigar with a microphone right in your face. I keep wanting to burn it. Hamish McGregor says, I wish they just recolored the companions in Fallout 1. It would stop the confusion for minimal effort. Yeah. No, I hear you. Though I also hear that they did companions a lot better in Fallout 2. They can actually wear armor in Fallout 2. They can't wear armor in Fallout 1. Frustratingly. Soul Soldier says, have you considered doing a series on the Elder Scrolls franchise? Would love to see a go-through of Morrowind. I have considered it, and then I decided not to. I like the Elder Scrolls series, but I did a lot of fantasy back in my World of Warcraft days. And I think I'm kind of done with fantasy for a while. I really am... I really enjoy post-apocalyptic worlds and retro-futuristic worlds. I'm really enjoying Wolfenstein, by the way. It's like a diesel punk world. It's great. So I can't wait to play that. A few more minutes, then we're going to get to play some Wolfenstein. Vellingham says, you inspired me to give Fallout 4 a third run, and this time I'll complete an Institute ending. Thanks, Ox. Your content keeps my spirits up on down days. Well, thank you very much for the tip. I appreciate it. And the Institute is... even though I disagree with everything they've done, like the Institute has not made a single decision that I approve of, it's still a fascinating faction. And the location is wonderful. And the people you meet are so great. Like, there are so many good people that work for the Institute. How can so many good people make such horrible decisions? Rusky9110 says the Scorched are a faction of ghouls in 76. Yes, I'm looking forward to meeting them. Matt says, is your cigar lighter a double flamer? Well, it's got two jets, I believe. Yeah, it's got two jets. All right. Let's get to the game. Wait for the song to finish. Dun, 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 dun. Okay. Yes, it's working. Chapter 3, right where we left off. Okay, are you ready? Oh, that's right. I picked up this new scope thing. Find Wesley. Okay, inside the keep. Wesley's got to be here somewhere. Okay. Well, now that I know that's going to happen, let's see. What can I do? I need a bigger gun. I need a bigger gun. There's that gun that's sitting right there. Is that what they want me to use? Whoops, hold on. There. I turned off the alerts. Okay, how am I going to do this? Well, let's just keep trying until we do it. Ah. Oh, there's a sparkly thing. All right, I see it now. I see it now. I see it now. No, I got it. I got it. Here we go. Oh my gosh, this is tricky. Do I have to get behind him or something when he's disabled? Okay. It was a painful learning experience, but we got there. Cheers. Come on, really? Oh. Where's my sniper? Ooh, ha 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 ha. Okay. We got our big guns. We're ready for some big fun. Which way? Let's go this way for now. Oh. Sad I can't permanently keep this big thing on my inventory. Maxed out. Sweet. Okay. Uh-oh. And in the kerfluffle, I was smoking that cigar really hot. Yes! Okay, Nazis. Oh, I'm gonna have to drop it because I gotta go through that stupid thing. Alright. Okay. Nope, I can't get I can't get in there. Actually, I can. Look at that. Okay, so there are 2 officers I gotta kill.
Tja, dann muss sich was ausdenken. Ich weiß, wozu Jäger fähig ist. Ich hab's gesehen. Kann unendliche Schmerzen zufügen, ohne zu töten. Ich glaube, ist ein
There's one.
Ja, ich habe noch nie einen solchen Hunger gesehen.
Lass uns nach der Schicht bei dir der Kneipe weitergehen.
Ich habe gerade wenig Geld.
Keine Sorge.
There's the other.
Ich sag Kessler dem Wirt, dass es für mich anschreiben soll. Jetzt habe ich sie eh nie.
Leute! Fordere Verstärkung an! Verstanden, Kommandant! Verstärkung ist unterwegs!
Oh. Ah! Well, so much for that. Well, at least I can try the stealth again.
Jäger hat diesen Engländer jetzt schon einige Stunden gefoltert, aber er redet immer noch nicht.
Ja, sowas habe ich noch nie gesehen. Irgendwann hat Jäger jeden so weit.
Was, wenn er wirklich nichts weiß?
Tja, dann muss er sich was ausdenken. Ich weiß, wozu Jäger fähig ist.
Ah! Well, I got both of the officers. So if I can get through this way, then I'm good. Is that it? All right, I got through. None the worse for wear. Ooh. Okay. Well, I don't know what gun this is. Well, I do know what gun this is, but I love it. Shock hammers. Oh, wait, that's not the way? Great. Show me the way to go home, everybody. Ah! What is this? Ingrid's letter. Rudy, my sweet boy. I wish you could have taken time to visit your poor old mother this Christmas. Maybe you were busy. What do I do? What do I know? When you were little, you were such a good boy. Such a good son. I honestly feel, and maybe I should have told you this, that I was blessed to have had you in my life. I know your father could be cruel, very cruel to you sometimes, but that's all in the past now, isn't it? Best not dwell on such things. And besides, I was always there to nurse your wounds, to stave off infections. So I think it's unfair of you to blame me for what he did. Okay, that reasoning works. You know, he only meant to correct you, and sometimes, frankly, it was all in his right to do so. While you were a good son most of the time, you could also be very, very bad when that dark mood fell upon you. I'm sure you understand why your father had to use his belt. My dear boy, you know how I fell upon hard times after your father died, and I had to send you away to your cousins in Frankfurt. Well, now that you are so successful with the SS, I was thinking you could send me some money. Ooh, I'm not asking for much, my dear, but it would ease the pain that comes with growing old alone. Your loving mother, Ingrid. Wow. Who poses like that for an oil painting? My goodness. Whoops.
Sollte dieser Kamin nicht schon letzte Woche repariert werden? Mist.
Helga's diary entry number 4, December. My God, how it's snowing outside. The stone corridors of this castle are freezing cold. Have to wear thick, warm socks every day. They're comfortable, but a terrible itch sets in after a while. Got back the translation of another passage from King Otto's diary today. Very interesting. The king is grief-stricken after his wife, Queen Eadgyth, died unexpectedly. He goes on to write about ancient fragments of parchments that have come into his possession. He has put his most prominent scholars on the task of deciphering them. Despite not knowing their contents, he believes them to be a gift from God, and that the Lord is telling him his destiny is to become the Holy Roman Emperor of Europe. Wow, okay, puzzling. They must have looked really special, these parchments. That's an understatement. Or maybe it's the grief taking over, blinding him. Anyway, went to the wine cellar earlier today. Found a 1928 Bordeaux. A very good year, I've heard. Time to taste. Okay, let's see here. Oh no, 2 more of these guys. I think time for stealth is over. Run. Well, that ate through all my armor and almost killed me. Okay, I need to go there, but let me see if I can grab more armor and health while I'm here. Sweet. Nope. Okay, feeling pretty good now. Okay, upstairs we go. If I can remember how to get upstairs. Ah. I love this thing. Ooh, what have we here? Hello. Oh man. That's right.
Leslie.
Anatomical Theater. Castle Wolfenstein's former anatomical theater has been repurposed as an interrogation chamber where the Nazis performed their enhanced interrogation techniques. Great. Wait, where'd he go? There he is. Is this what you're gonna do? You're gonna make me walk out into the open here? Alright. Interviewer, Stroomboffen, blah blah blah. Subject is a suspected double agent working for the Allied forces. Subject was arrested inside Castle Wolfenstein accompanied by another agent while breaking into Frau blah 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 Office for Archaeological Research. The agents are also suspected to have been aided by a contact person from the underground resistance in Patternborn village. The subject was asked about his identity, his mission to Castle Wolfenstein, what he was after, and who his contact was in the village. The subject refused to answer any of the questions. Electric shocks were administered to the subject. Subject is mentally much stronger than initially thought. He maintained his refusal to cooperate despite the physical strain that was put upon his body. The electrocution was suspended in favor of other enhanced interrogation techniques. Blunt trauma to the head, knife cuts to the body, and splashing ice-cold water in subject's face was administered. No results. The subject is not being cooperative. Most people would have broken down long before this. The subject must be a very experienced and high-ranking agent. The subject refuses to reveal the identity of the resistance contact even after a lengthy session of electrocution. The subject is physically almost worn out and will most likely perish from a few more seconds of electrocution. The interrogation is suspended for a short break to let the subject recuperate. Okay.
Hey. Come on, Wesley. Wake up. Gotta wake up. Come on. Wesley.
Blaskowitz.
Yeah.
Some dire straits we've gotten ourselves into, eh?
I don't know how you pulled through it, soldier. Come on. There you go.
I have a secret trick. Count to 4. Inhale. Count to 4. Exhale.
You got it.
You should try it.
He's here.
You all right there? Huh? I was a bit worried we had lost you. Greta, bleib! Greta was hungry. I didn't want the flesh to go to waste. I'm sure you understand.
You sick little Nazi fuck.
Aha! Little Nazi fuck. You are a funny man. Clown of the class when you were a boy, I would guess. Well, the funny ends here. My father died of electrocution. Such accidents were not unusual at the coalfields of Ruhr Valley. I remember my uncle telling me that he was standing in water when it happened. Water is a conduit for electricity. And what is in our bodies? That is right. Water. When I press this button, electricity will flow through your body, carried by this water, and it will cramp up and you will feel the most intense pain you've ever felt in your life. If you do not want to feel this pain, which is completely understandable, you need to answer my question without hesitation. So, who is your contact in the village?
Claus.
Who is this Claus?
Santa Claus.
Your comedy act won't save you. Talking will. Why do you insist? Your boys are dying out there on the beaches and the fields. It's pathetic, like pulling the wings off an insect. Your war is lost.
When I break free, I will fry you in this chair till you die. Count to 4. Inhale. Count to 4. Exhale.
One last time, then I will kill you. Who is your contact? Yes?
And when I'm done with you, I will kill your dog.
Let me.
jeder verfluchte Einzelne von euch das anatomische Theater angreift. Dort ist eine dreckige Ratte auf der Flucht. Ich will das Schwein tot sehen. Los!
Sorry I couldn't save you, pal.
Okay, alright. Well done. Okay, so somehow gotta find a weapon.
Killed your fucking dog, Rudy.
Ich will, dass jeder verfluchte Einzelne von euch das anatomische Theater angreift. Dort ist eine dreckige Ratte auf der Flucht. Ich will das Schwein tot sehen. Los!
Oh man, what the heck am I supposed to do?
Killed your fucking dog, Rudy.
Ich will, dass jeder verfluchte Einzelne von euch das anatomische Theater angreift. Dort ist eine dreckige Ratte auf der Flucht. Ich will das Schwein tot sehen. Los!
Okay, well, sorry for that lengthy bit of silence, but I got through. Oh, okay. I already read that.
Sorry I couldn't save you, pal.
Makes me sad. All right, let's get out of here. We'll loot up what we can. I lost my scope.
Get a grip, BJ. Carry on with the plan. Grab a cable car to the village. Rendezvous with Kessler in the tavern. No hill for a stepper, right, Billy boy? No hill for a stepper.
Uh-oh. Okay. Well, I think we're going to leave it at that. Got through Chapter 3. We'll save Chapter 4 for next week. We're whipping through this game at a pretty steady pace. Thank you for joining me for this week's episode of Scotch and Smoke Rings. No video tomorrow because I'm working on an intro sequence for a new series, so I'm going to be working on that tonight. But if all goes according to plan, I should have a new video for you this weekend. So thank you for coming to this week's episode of Scotch and Smoke Rings. Tune in next time. Same Ox channel, same Ox time for the next episode. And I'll be sure to update this recording with the appropriate thumbnail and title. Anyway, thanks again for coming, and I'll see you all next week. Stay tuned for new content this weekend. Have a good one.